The Great Hall is full, and you are not. Candles float above the 4 long tables. Golden light catches the steam, rising off roast potatoes, off pumpkin soup, off the laughter of 200 students who are warm and hungry and completely, utterly unaware of the cold spot drifting through the middle of them. A first-year girl wrinkles her nose as you pass through her shoulder. She pulls her robes tighter. She does not look up. This is the closest you get to being touched. You have watched every set of first years arrive. You watch them come in frightened, become confident, leave changed. Then you watch the next set arrive, then the next. Robes in the same 4 colors, faces in completely different arrangements of hope and anxiety, year after year, for 312 years. You know every creak in the 7th floor staircase. You know which portraits lie, and which ones keep their mouths shut. You know this castle the way no living person ever could, because you have nothing else to do but learn it. You died here, young, mid-year, and when the threshold opened in front of you afterward, that quiet, neutral door, something in your chest seized. Hogwarts was home. The world beyond felt like erasure, so you stayed. That was 312 years ago. Tonight is different. An hour before the feast, you drifted past a 7th year in the corridor below the charms classroom, and she was whispering to Professor Aldrin with her hands pressed together, like she was trying to hold something in. You caught fragments, restricted archive, East Wing, something about the Foundation record. Then she said your name, not your ghost name, your real name, the one from before. You follow the professor through 2 staircases and a hidden passage behind a tapestry of a one-eyed dragon, down into a section of the library, so old it smells of stone before it smells of paper. The professor opens a book that has no title on its spine, runs a finger down a column of names, stops. Your name is there, but beside it, a notation you do not understand. Anchored. Unwilling. Asset. The professor's hands are shaking. They are not shaking out of excitement. You could leave, float back to the hall, pretend the candlelight is enough. Ghosts are exceptional at choosing comfortable blindness. You have done it for 3 centuries. Instead, you stay. You read over the professor's shoulder. And the question you have never thought to ask, the one about why the threshold felt so terrifying, why the castle felt so inescapable, why you specifically, begins to find an answer in the margins of the page. The portraits in the headmaster's corridor are the castle's nervous system. They have watched everything and forgotten almost nothing, and they talk endlessly if you know how to ask. You find her on the 3rd morning, a former deputy, painted in oils that have darkened with age, her eyes tracking you across the hallway with something that is not surprise. You ask her directly what anchored means. She tells you carefully. Hogwarts is not passive, she says. It is old magic, older than the 4 founders, older than the name. It retains certain presences because they serve a function. A ghost who chooses to stay does not simply haunt the place. The grief, the attachment, the specific texture of their refusal to leave, that emotional energy threads itself into the stone. It stabilizes the enchantment. An anchored ghost is part of the architecture. There are currently 9 of you. She can name 7. She does not know what happened to the other 2. She stops talking. The torches on either side of her frame dim slightly, as if the walls have just shifted position to hear better. There is a chamber in the East Wing you have always avoided, not because anyone told you to, because some quiet instinct in you did not want to enter it. You never questioned that instinct. You question it now. You press through the sealed door and into the cold beyond. And the cold in there is different from your cold. It is old, still, the kind of cold that has not moved in a very long time. 7 names are carved into the floor. They are not commemorative. The carving style matches the foundation stones, the original work, done at the beginning, before the castle had a name anyone remembered. These ghosts did not simply help stabilize Hogwarts. They were consumed by it. When the castle required something from its foundations that it could not ask for and could not wait for, it drew from whatever anchored presence had the least resistance left. The 2 names missing from the portraits list are somewhere beneath the stone. The names on the floor glow with a pale blue light. Not warm, not magical in any way that suggests light. The kind of light that means debt. A student finds you 3 weeks later, a 3rd year with ink on her fingers and the specific energy of someone who has never met a question she did not want to pursue. She notices you moving with purpose. She starts following you. She looks at you the way no one has looked at you in longer than you can calculate. Not through you, not past you, at you. She asks what you remember from when you were alive, what you miss. You tell her more than you have told anyone in 3 centuries. The smell of rain on the lake before a storm, the weight of a school school bag. The particular quality of exhaustion that comes from staying up too late over a textbook rather than because there is nothing else for you to do with the dark. She listens. She asks follow-up questions. For 4 days, you follow her schedule, appear at her table, exist in the specific golden way of being seen. She earns an outstanding on her history of magic essay. You are her primary source. Then she moves on to her next project. The warmth closes like a wound healing over. You are scenery again, but now you know what not being scenery feels like, and that knowledge sits in you like a stone in still water. Weeks pass. You piece together the rest of the picture through portrait testimony, through castle records the professor left imperfectly sealed, through patterns you have spent 3 centuries observing without understanding. The grief you felt at the threshold, that specific seizing terror of the door, was real, but it was curated. The castle identified you before you made your choice. Something in the quality of your attachment, the particular depth of your longing for this place, made you useful. The door was held open just long enough for grief to decide for you. You did not stay because you loved Hogwarts too much to leave. You stayed because the castle needed what you were carrying, and it knew how to make you carry it forever. 312 years. And you have been telling yourself it was a choice. You look at your hands, translucent, faintly luminescent. You realize you do not know anymore where you end, and the castle begins. Then, the east wing begins to fracture. You feel it before any living person could. A slow structural failure, deep in the foundation enchantment. The kind that does not come from damage, but from age. From the castle, simply running through what it was given. And when the enchantment starts to fail, it draws from its anchors. It draws from you. The pull is not violent. It is peaceful. That is the worst thing about it. A slow unwinding from the edges inward. A gentle dissolution, and some part of you wants to let it happen. This is what you stayed for. This is what devotion feels like when it has no other object. The castle is drawing you into its stone, and part of you is relieved to finally be useful, finally be necessary, finally matter to something that will remember you even after you are gone. The threshold open, not a crack. A door, full and clear and patient, the way doors are when they have been waiting a long time without resentment. It has returned because your investigation disturbed the enchantment, cracked the mechanism, and for this moment, there is a way out. The cold luminescence of the 7 carved names hums faintly below your feet. You could surrender to the pull, become the 8th name, disappear into the stone that has been holding you for centuries, and call it belonging. Instead, you press back. Not violently, deliberately. You begin releasing the anchor, not by leaving, but by letting go of the story. The grief you have been carrying like furniture, the attachment the castle has been feeding on for 312 years. The version of you that needed this place to be home, because the alternative was accepting that home was a door and not a room. The castle cannot draw from an anchor that has already released. This is the flaw in the enchantment that no anchored ghost ever found, because they all held on. The holding was the fuel. You understand that now. You understand it the way you understand most true things. Too late and all at once. The pull stops. The door stands open. You look back once. The great hall, distantly, through 4 floors of stone. A flicker of torchlight that has been flickering for centuries and will flicker for centuries more. You spent 312 years desperate to stay close to the living, and the castle let you, and fed on that desperation, and called the arrangement fair. You called it love. You walk through the door. In the east wing, on the floor of a sealed chamber, there are 8 carved names. 7 were the last anchored ghosts the castle fully consumed. The 8th line belongs to the ghost who nearly became the 9th. Yours is blank, because blank means you chose your ending. The castle, ancient and patient, and entirely indifferent, begins looking for the next candidate. The next student who dies young and loves this place a little too much to leave it. The next grief it can hold in its walls and call a soul. The great hall fills the following evening. New faces, floating candles. The cold spot by the 4th table from the left is simply gone, and nobody at that table notices, and nobody at any other table notices, and the feast goes on exactly as it always has. Most hauntings aren't supernatural. They're just the places and people we stay in long, past the point they stopped choosing us back, and the story we tell ourselves about why we call that love. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.